Hi, everyone. Welcome to Las Vegas Market, and we're happy to say that Market is actually taking place on site right now. So we just started our session B, and that is taking place live. Hopefully some of you are joining us online and also in person from your hotel room or viewing us, from your phone or wherever you may be. Today we have a wonderful presentation with Kimberly Selden with Business of Design, and it's Embracing the New Normal. Very poignant for the times that we have today going on. This is CEU accredited, and that information will be emailed out afterward. If you do have any questions, please go ahead and submit those in the Q&A, and we'll get to them towards the end. And Kimberly and Cheryl are here with us with Business of Design, and I'll turn it over to them.
Thank you, Kim Porter. Thank you so much. Everybody, welcome. Hi, nice to see you all. Everybody, if you don't know Cheryl Horn already, you really should. Cheryl Horn is the Director of Operations at Business of Design. She's the brains behind the machine. I'm just a worker bee. She keeps us on track and keeps me moving forward. And she reminds me what normal used to look like maybe and what it looks like now and how much opportunity there is currently in the new normal. Cheryl, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We're going to ask a series of questions in this webinar, more questions than answers, but I hope what we'll do is prod you into action so that you'll begin to take advantage of the moment that the universe has provided to us. I can't go so far as to say I'm super happy about COVID-19. I don't think anyone is. But I can say that it has provided us with a unique opportunity to look at what we're doing and see things in a new light and maybe embrace some of the new things that are coming our way. I also want to say I in no way mean to be glib or suggest that COVID-19 is not a big deal. For anybody who's struggling or has family members struggling, I have the same as you. We all do all over the world, and it's a very serious problem, but our wheelhouse is business, and in particular your interior design business. So I'm just going to focus on what I know best. Cheryl, is there any housekeeping we need to take care of before we jump in?
Well, like Kim said, if you have questions as we go through the content, feel free to post it into the question panel, which if you hover over your screen, there's going to be a Q&A section that'll pop up and you can submit questions there. That will come to us to ask at the end. If you want to share comments throughout, feel free to use the chat for that, but make sure the default is to only submit to panelists, but if you want to share it with the group, you can change that there. And we're used to doing webinars for all of our Business of Design members, but I see so many new names on the list, which is great, so welcome. If you are brand new to Business of Design, please check us out at businessofdesign.com, and you can just set up a free account to receive our newsletters. We've got a lot going on this fall. I won't get into all the details here, but a lot of key timelines and stuff that you'll want to stay on top of. So be sure to check that out, set up an account, and we'll keep you posted on everything else that's going on with Business of Design. But welcome.
You remind me, Cheryl, like we definitely have some huge changes coming to Business of Design this fall, but we've been working on them for 2 years, and the deadline, the finish line is right there. It's so close. It's so close. It's nice to see everybody. I am going to see if I can switch over to my PowerPoint. It's always a miracle if I can make the technology work. I guess let me say this before I do. I want to say thank you to Kim Porter and IMC for hosting us. They have been wonderful partners. We had our Business of Design conference in January at Las Vegas Market, and they took such good care of us, spoiled us, pampered us, and gave us a really great setting for us to have an important real life meeting of minds and hearts and souls, and it was a wonderful opportunity. And the other thing that I'm hearing from different vendors and suppliers is, even though market is not so much business as usual, they are doing a lot of business. And I think a lot of you are probably feeling what we're feeling, which is clients are at home wondering why on earth they didn't renovate the kitchen last year when they had the chance. And so now the phone is ringing. So I think it's kind of lovely to be on the better side of a recession this time, because in 2008, of course, we were on the wrong side of that recession, and that hurt a lot. It took a long time to recover. Not so this time. Let me see, Cheryl, you tell me, is that working, or am I sharing yet? No, here we go. I'll do this now. There, and I'm going.
There you go.
Actual, no, you have to see behind the scenes. I don't know why I can't just start at the beginning, but there you go. Embracing the new normal. Now, this is assuming that you were normal before this happened. I can only speak for myself and say I'm not sure what normal is, or if I've ever been normal. There have been times in my career when I thought I was unique. I thought I was the only one. So for example, in the early days of my career, as I struggled desperately to make my clients happy and failed so miserably, I would go to an event like Las Vegas Market or High Point, and I would see all these beautiful designers looking so polished and fabulous. And I would say, wow, how are you doing? And they would say, oh, I'm doing great. I had my best year ever. And they would say, what about you? And I'm like, oh yeah, me too. Awesome. But really, I wasn't doing awesome at all. In fact, I was doing very poorly. It took me many years to embrace new behaviors, different behaviors than those behaviors I'm hardwired for. And during that period of time, it was somewhat uncomfortable, or very often extremely uncomfortable. When you are in the habit of using the methods you're using, and you're at that point in the journey where you think, I'm just going to work harder, I'm going to get organized, I'm going to stay focused. As soon as COVID is over, then you are off the beam, because it never happens. Fill in the blank never happens. The only thing that's happening is what's right this minute, present in this moment. And right this minute, I think there's lots of great news on the horizon. But the first thing I want to talk about is, why the heck did you want to be the boss anyway? If you're anything like me, when I first started out, it was a recession. It was 1991. It was a terrible recession. I couldn't find a job. And I would have taken any job at any design firm doing anything, but it didn't exist. So I decided I would go into business for myself. How hard could it be? Right? Turns out it's pretty freaking hard to be the boss. And it doesn't matter if you have talent, because look around you, lots and lots and lots and lots of designers have talent. In fact, people who aren't designers sometimes have a talent for what we do. So if that's not going to get me there, and being willing to work myself to death isn't going to get me there, why the heck am I the boss anyway? I imagined, when I saw that there was no option except for working for myself, I imagined that I would be able to have total independence. I was the boss. I would make all the calls. Nobody would tell me what to do. I imagined that I would have total flexibility. If I want to go to my yoga class on Wednesday afternoon at 2 o'clock, you know what? I'm going to my yoga class. And as a matter of fact, I'm the boss. So I'm not even going to go back to the office on Wednesdays. I'm going to take the rest of the day off, maybe get my nails done. I imagined that I would have loads of money, profit, because I wouldn't have to share any of those profits with anybody else, right? And I imagined I would have creative control. And it turns out none of those things, not a single one of those things, happened for me automatically. I was really hardwired to be a worker bee. And I looked up one day and I realized I had created a job for myself instead of a business. I didn't have independence. I didn't have flexibility and freedom. In fact, I would work 24/7. We used to joke, my husband and I would put the kids in bed, and then I called it the second shift, and I would work and my husband would work night after night after night. And I never billed my client for my husband's time, because he was always just helping me catch up, getting me organized so I'd be ready to do it right the next day. All that to say, COVID-19 has done a lot of horrible things to people we know and people we love, and to some of our communities, and in some ways to our political system. However, one thing it has done that's okay is it's given us permission to make changes to how we're doing things right now. So if you have a method of working or profitability or no flexibility that isn't working for you, anything that's not working for you right now, you have a green light pass to make the changes. But of course, what happened for me is I want the changes to come, but I want to keep working the way I'm working. And that's not going to happen. That's the one thing we just can't do, right? If not now, when? For many years, I would say to myself, you know, it's okay that I'm not profitable right now. As soon as I get through this project for Mrs. Jones, I'm going to raise my rates, or I'm going to start billing for all of my hours. I'll do that as soon as this is done, or as soon as Christmas is over. Once the new year happens, I'm going to buckle down and I'm going to stop being a pushover. I'm going to stop negotiating with my clients. I'm going to set some new rules, right? Or as soon as the kids are in school full time, I'm just working from home, part-time. And so it's okay that I have none of the perks of entrepreneurship and that I'm working all these hours and I don't have any profitability, right? To even say it out loud, it sounds crazy. And I did that for so many years. I kept kicking the goal down the field, thinking that tomorrow things would automatically be different. And it's funny, I'm looking at Cheryl's face right now. And one of my goals for so many years was to be able to take a vacation without having to call into the office. And we had been working really hard with various business coaches and creating the Business of Design. Well, it wasn't the Business of Design 15-step process. Back then, it was Kimberly Self Design Group 15-step project management strategy. But we'd been working really hard, and maybe we had 7 or 8 steps at this point. And I said to Cheryl, like, I had this vacation coming up, but business was really crazy. We were super busy. I said to Cheryl, you know, I'm just going to take a little work with me on vacation. I know I said I wouldn't, but I'm just going to do it. And she's like, no, nobody is speaking to you at the office. We're cutting you off. We're not going to speak to you. I'm going to ask the tech team to eliminate your email address. You are not going to be able to talk to anyone at the office. You are going to take a vacation without checking in. I was so like reluctant to do that, so scared that everything would fall apart. And what I found instead is, wow, it feels really good to unplug. It felt weird at first. I was scared, but I got back to the office and I realized, because by this point we had some systems and strategies working, that people were able to do their jobs without me being around. Cheryl's muted right now. She might even tell you that it was enjoyable to not have me around, that they got more done. Do you remember that, Cheryl?
I do, yeah. And same thing with you wanting to take your Fridays off to go up north, that put it in the calendar. Like a day off, that's an appointment. That's a scheduled thing. But by that point, again, we had systems written down and you had a staff that were used to the systems. That's, you know, part of our procedure. So we survived without you for a week.
Yeah, here's the big secret, by the way. You're not good at everything. And there's somebody out there who's better at a lot of the things you're doing resentfully in your life, who could do them better. And we'll talk about that. So I want to look at, where are the opportunities now? We've got this pandemic. There's not a darn thing we can do about any of it. But where are my opportunities? I think one opportunity is you can figure out what you're great at. That's really important. Another opportunity would be to narrow your niche or your niche, depending on where you live. You can expand and redefine what it means to be a team, and I'll talk about that. I think it's really important for all of us to use our resources more effectively. If you've gone to market and you had a lot of fun, great. But did you make a connection with a resource who could do some of your work for you? Let's talk about that. I also think it's really important to choose a tribe that's going in the direction you want to go in, and we don't want to settle for less. One thing I didn't say off the top is I'm happy to answer any question you have. So please just put those in the Q&A. I know Cheryl addressed that, but I just want you to know, if you have a question and it seems like it's off topic, we don't really care. We're happy to answer those questions for you. So please let me know how I can help. And speaking of figuring out what you're great at, I had for so many years this idea that I just had to hunker down and do all these things that I really didn't want to do. For example, paperwork, writing up a work order or worksheet, a purchase order, a quote request. I didn't want to do that. I wasn't great at it. And I often skipped those things, which meant, as you already know, that when you skip those kinds of things, you're going to have problems later on. It finally occurred to me, like, can't you at least, Kimberly, sit down and figure out what you love to do, and then have another list of those things that you loathe doing, love it or loathe it. That was illuminating for me, because I found that there were lots of things I really loved to do, but the things I hated doing took so much of my time. It left very little time for the things that I love. And this exercise allowed me to say, you know what, as the boss, I love actually making the selections on behalf of clients. I love going to the fabric showrooms and picking all the fabric. I love going to market and picking all the furniture for 8 projects. Nothing makes me happier than when I get to market and I have 8 clipboards with me representing 8 different projects, and I'm having to meet with vendors and suppliers, and I'm picking furniture. I couldn't be happier. So that's going to go on my love it list. Then there's the loathe it list. Okay, what do I hate doing? Forget about for a minute whether or not you have anybody to do it, because that hung me up for years. Well, it doesn't matter if I don't like doing it. Too bad, Buttercup. Nobody's here to do it but you. So forget about that just for a minute. Blue sky, whatever piece of paper you have in front of you, what are those tasks or those jobs that you just really despise? So for me, I mentioned writing up worksheets or quote requests or purchase orders. I'm no fan of anything that involves math or paperwork. Let's just be honest, not my wheelhouse. So I'm going to write those things down. I figured out also, you know what I really don't want to do? And I felt sort of like, you're not allowed to say that. But I'll tell you guys, because we're friends, I did not like doing the project management. I do not like doing site check visits. I do not like meeting with the trades. I do not want to say, Joe, did you leave that bucket over there? Somebody's going to trip on it and they're going to get hurt and, blah, blah, blah. Or David, you just did the brick pattern when I told you it was herringbone. The drawings show herringbone. I didn't like doing any of that. But I initially, for many years, thought, too bad. I had to do it. My name is on the door. And so I'm the person that has to do it. When in fact, we were desperately busy, and my reluctance to let go of any task meant we constantly had bottlenecks in our office. I was the person who stopped progress over and over again. So for example, if we need a beige velvet, if the beige velvet has to come to my desk to approve, then I might not have time for a few days, and there's a delay in when we can order the beige velvet. When in fact, seriously, beige velvet, a senior designer could happily pick that. So one of the things that was really liberating for me is to figure out what I love to do, figure out what I loathe to do, and then it transformed our hiring process. Because originally, if you're at the stage right now where you're super busy, you're just overwhelmed, there's so much work, you don't know what to do. And lots of people are feeling that way, even during COVID. And don't compare and despair. If that's not your experience right now, that's okay. We can help with that. Don't despair and compare. But anyway, you're just super busy. And so maybe you're doing what I did. I fantasized about an assistant, a magical person who could do all the things I didn't want to do. And so we constantly tried to hire this generic person who could do bookkeeping and project management and marketing and do my social media, right? No, that person doesn't exist. That's me already right now, and it's not working. By creating a love it and a loathe it list, what I could do is I could go down that list and I could say, what do I hate the most out of all these things? I'll tell you what, I don't like doing project management. Okay, my next hire is going to be somebody who does project management. What does that person look like? What does that person think like? What are their favorite things to do? And then I can create an ad that talks about nothing but going on job sites, handling trades, dealing with receivables and deliveries. And I can find a person who thinks all of those tasks sound like quite a lot of fun, right? Where before, trying to find someone who could do my social media page and write my operations manual and do all my ordering, it's just never going to happen. So I strongly recommend that now is a really good time for you to figure out what you love to do and what you don't want to do. The other thing I found, when I was hiring an assistant or another designer, I kept hiring a mini-me. Somebody would come into the office and they were super fun. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, we're totally going to love hanging out together. But that person wanted to do all the things I love to do, all those things on my love it list, and none of the things on my loathe it list. But I said to myself, I'm the boss. That's too bad. I'm going to do these things and you're going to do those things. Well, they weren't suited for those things. So once I realized I was hiring for very specific targeted roles, that allowed me to outsource some things, that allowed me to use independent contractors for some things, and then to hire staff to do other things. So it's an exercise that I just can't recommend enough. For those of you familiar with Business of Design's 15-step project management strategy, I'm steps 1 to 5. Love it all, have no problem doing any of it. Although in step 4, I do less than half of step 4. I do all the fun stuff. I make all the selections. I don't do any of the pricing. I have almost nothing to do with 6, 7, 8, and 9, which are huge steps, but like I'm on holiday, thank you very much. Let me know how it's going. I come back in at steps 10 and 11. I love step 10, having a super fun time. 11, clients are like, woo, this is amazing. I get all the hugs and I get all the credit. And then I'm gone. I'm out of there. Yeah, you'll see me at the end. The clients will see me at the end to say thank you, but I really have nothing to do with 12 to 15. So as the boss, I actually get to create an experience of doing the things I love to do and the things I'm really good at for myself. And then I just have to find other people to do those other tasks. I hope that makes sense. Cheryl, you'll just butt in if anybody's asking. What? Go ahead.
Yeah, Michelle just posted a question saying that 2 big things she's struggling with right now are spending money for someone to run her social media marketing and update her website, that sort of portion of the business, and if she should hire a business coach. Spending money on a coach is one thing, but so far any coach she's talked with says she needs to pay additional money for someone to take over marketing. That's sort of, I guess, the first thing that they want to cover. It seems all I will be doing is spending money and I don't have the income right now to justify that. It's a catch-22. So what's your advice?
Yeah, it's not a catch-22 at all. Is Michelle a Business of Design member?
She is.
She is?
Yeah.
Michelle, you have a business coach. I'm your business coach. You do not need another business coach. You just need to implement. So we can talk about that offline for sure. It's the funniest thing. People ask us all the time if they can hire a business coach. And then they'll come back and they'll say, you know, I spent $20,000 on this coach and they wanted me to spend money on marketing. In fact, it's so funny. I just shared about this on the podcast yesterday that somebody phoned me for 1 hour of coaching. They had a $20,000 business coach, and that business coach, that person's philosophy, which maybe some of you prescribe to it, that's fine. The philosophy is your first job is to get published. Your first job is to find your next client. Your second job is to get published, and your third job is to make the client you have happy. My strong recommendation is you need to make the client you have happy now happy, and then you'll get those beautiful photographs you need, which will allow you to do whatever marketing you want. And if you don't focus on making the client you have right this minute happy, then yeah, you better spend a lot of time constantly hustling for the next job. Where I have found that making the client I have now happy leads me to a referral client, leads me to a repeat customer. And I have had now in the last couple of years, maybe 80% of my jobs are all repeat and referral, maybe even more. It's been extraordinary. And I have to spend 0 time marketing. None. I don't need to market because I know I'm going to keep getting work doing this. I have not yet found an outside resource for marketing or social media that I think is worth the amount of money, but I'm open to your suggestions and hearing what you guys say. Not only that, but there's so much white noise right now in anything digital, in any kind of marketing that's delivered through an inbox, that it's really impossible to get traction. So it would be far better to do some of the things we recommend in terms of marketing, which is to create postcards and drop them off at neighboring homes to those you're working on, or neighboring condominiums to those that you're working on. It would be far better to host an event. I'm hosting a virtual event for clients that I've currently had in the past and a couple of potential clients. It's a woman who's an art historian in in Florence, Italy. And she's doing a whole, a 1 hour lecture on, and she's really fun. So lecture is kind of a dry word. She's doing a 1 hour talk on female artists of the Renaissance, names you've never heard of, but beautiful photography. And we're doing a little wine tasting to go along with it. So I'm hosting an event like that. For me, those types of events get me 1 or 2 clients, which then lead me to other clients. I have never found spending a lot of money on social media or marketing has been terribly effective. But I'd love to talk more about that in group coaching. But before you hire, this is so funny, we've talked about this for a long time, before you decide to hire any outside business coaching, please talk to us, because we have kind of a name it and shame it list of coaches that a lot of people have complained about. So at least we can say no, or yes, we've heard good things about that coach, or not. It's also a time, I think, to redefine expertise. And one of the things that helped me do that was that love it or loathe it list. I want to do projects that have a lot of fabrics, because I love doing the draperies. And, forget about that. That's extremely profitable. It's wonderful. I want to do projects that have beautiful draperies and custom furniture and all those kind of things. So I'm definitely going to be in the decorating side of things, as well as the renovating side of things. But as I've worked over the years, who I want to work for has become more and more narrow and more defined. And I now know that down to pennies, in fact, I now know which projects I work on are the most profitable, and the projects that I work on that are the most profitable are those projects where I am truly an expert, because I know something about that market. So for example, when I do projects in rural Canada, Toronto's one thing, and that's great, and I have a lot of work in Toronto, but when I do projects in rural Canada where there's farm country, I now have expertise about who do I need to hire to dig a septic system? What about water wells? What happens when someone's pond leaks, or the trout are dying? I know who to call for all of those issues. And so that expertise allows me to charge a premium for what I'm doing. And it allows me to, it gives me a platform where my clients aren't second guessing me as much. So between that and the fact that my fees have gotten higher and higher and higher over the years, my clients very often will just say, whatever you think, whatever's faster, just do it, which is exactly what I want. That may not be what you want. There are lots of people who want something totally different. You love the time spent with clients. You want to go shopping with clients. I've never been that kind of designer. That's not what I want to do. I want to go shopping with my team. I want to go shopping with a girlfriend, not so much clients. But now really is an opportunity to refocus, and it means we have to go backwards. We have to go backwards and look at those past projects and analyze, where have we gotten the most value from clients, and where have we provided the most value? One of the courses I love at Business of Design, and by the way, 100% of the courses are being refilmed at the moment. It's been a long time that we've been providing online content, and I've learned a lot in the last 15 years. So the new courses are much more robust. I look older, which I'm not so sure I'm happy about, but anyway, too bad, so sad. The information is really good. And one of the courses I really love is called Projects to Profits. yeah, projects to profits. We're probably going to change the name of that. That's on deck to be refilmed shortly. A lot of things got a name change because we changed the process and the methodology so much, it became kind of a different process altogether, but we're excited about that. Narrow your focus. That's always a good idea. I want to speak to those of you who are solopreneurs. You just work for yourself, and many of you think and use language like, I just work for myself, or I just work from home. I just have an office in the basement. Are you really alone as an interior design professional? The answer, I think, is no. We can't do our work without relying on so many other professionals. I can't do those beautiful window coverings I want to do without relying on a fabric supplier and a window covering specialist to make the draperies, and then maybe a different team to install the draperies. So even as a solopreneur, you're not alone. And I had a situation recently where somebody in the business of design community had hired a marketing company and produced a magazine that was going to be emailed around to various clients. And throughout this magazine, it used the I language. I am doing this, you know, I, Kimberly, will do this for your house. And I suggested she use the we language because I think our clients need us to be a team. They know that I, Kimberly, am not going to be able to build their home. I've got to have many, many trades who can do that. And so they're relying on me to be at least part of a team, or to know who to call, who will be on my A team. So I do think it's important to begin to think of ourselves as a we rather than little old me, which was detrimental. And that leads me to talk about my resources. I'm wondering if we're all using our resources as effectively as we can. So let me give you an example. This is a wild example. I was on a job site and we were at step 10 and I had borrowed this painting that was going to go over the sofa. And we held it up to install it over the sofa. And I said, oh, I hate that painting. What was I thinking? I don't even know why I picked it. It's horrible. I do not want the clients to buy it because then how am I going to explain why I'm removing it for the photographs? So I phoned an art gallery and I said, do you remember the other painting that was, yes, I want that painting. Will you pull it down and will you wrap it and I'll send the movers to pick it up? So we phoned the movers. Oh, they can't make it. They're on the other side of town. They'll never get there in town. We phoned the courier. Car wasn't big enough to pick it up. I phoned my husband. He measured the back of his big SUV, not big enough to pick it up. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? The clients are going to be here in 3 hours. I want that painting hanging on this wall. So I remember that the person that we use frequently for beautiful area carpets has a big panel van. And I called him up. His name's Michael Porvakill. He's at Weaver's Art in Toronto. I phoned Michael. I said, Michael, this is the weirdest request you're ever going to get, but I need a favor. I need you to send 2 guys with one of your vans over to an art gallery, pick up a painting and get it to me at this client's house as soon as possible. And Michael's like, okay, I'll do that. And the reason he did that is because he's a resource I use over and over and over again. So yeah, I buy a lot of carpets from Michael and we've developed a relationship. And that had me thinking about, I mean, that's an unusual, exceptional experience, right? That had me thinking about the resources I rely on and whether or not I actually let them do what they're good at. So let's say you have a favorite supplier at market, somebody who reps a furniture line that you just love. If you take time and develop a relationship with that person and you do a lot of ordering with the same person, they will get to know what you like and what you don't like. And then this is how a conversation can happen now with me and a resource like that. Hey, Jane, oh my gosh, how are you? How's market going? Amazing. I've got this project and I need a modern sofa. I need a coffee table, chairs, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to send you a list of the things I need and the sizing. Do you remember the project we did last year? The guy was a bachelor and he had that big condo. Yeah. That's the vibe. That's the vibe I want. Only I want it lighter and brighter and fresher, more feminine. Can you help me out? Absolutely. Send me your list. So I email her a list and she sends back images of product, pricing, sizing, everything, one-stop shop, Thank you so much. We implement it into our systems for producing the project estimate at the presentation. Boom, boom, boom. The client loves everything. They buy everything. I give that resource an order. And what does that mean to me as a business owner? Well, I didn't have to pay any staff to do that sourcing. The sourcing was done by someone who's not on my payroll. Now, I could, in fact, log some hours for that sourcing time. If you're a solopreneur, getting back to the idea of being a we, you could use your resources like part of your team and therefore log some of those hours. I have done that in the past. We use a company sometimes called Layers and Layers. They are in BC for Toronto projects. We don't use them for our projects in LA ever. I split my time between those two places. But Layers and Layers will sometimes do procurement for us on a big job. And I will give them like a brief outline. I'll send them the floor plans and measurements and tell them all the things I need. And then they'll take 1 or 2 days and come back to me with a full package of everything. And because we know each other, everything is pretty much what I want. I might have 1 or 2 tweaks. And they will also log their hours, the hours it took them to produce all of that, and they'll send it to me, and then I'm able to bill my clients for that time. That becomes an extension of my team. So it's something to think about. I do believe that we have to have impeccable integrity with clients, truly, but if it's a task that the client would have to do if you weren't on the job, then I think it's perfectly fine to bill them for the time it takes, within reason. And the fact of the matter is, when I'm going directly to one of my resources, to one of the suppliers I've met, for example, at market, they know their product way better than I do. So they're going to be able to put their finger on suitable choices so much faster than I am. So I might have billed 5 hours of my time to walk around the showroom, and I'm going to bill instead 1 hour of their time at a lower rate than my rate to the client. So the client wins. It's a win for everybody. So just look for those opportunities, I think, to make more use of your resources. And then similar to how we do trade day, where we brainstorm with the individual trades who have expertise, your resources have expertise that you don't have, and that's okay. I used to think when I was younger, I had to know everything, but in fact, now I know I just have to know who to ask. And so if I'm sourcing light fixtures and, and I have questions, what about these LEDs? Can they be on a dimmer? I can ask my resource those questions and they will have answers for me. And then when I do a presentation to the clients, I sound like the expert because I've gotten that information from that person who knows more about it than I do. So I think for me, what it really took is just slowing down long enough to ask the questions of the experts and then listen and then translate that into what I'm presenting to the clients. Does that make sense? Cheryl?
We have a question from Nicole, who's at Las Vegas Market right now, and her goal for being at Market is to find an upholstery go-to vendor to work with. But while she's there looking to build that relationship, she doesn't currently have a project that she's going to place an order right now. She just needs to find that source. So how would you build that initial relationship if you're at Market right now or looking for a vendor to be part of your A team, but you don't have work to give them right at the moment?
Well, it's really great that you're able to be proactive about it. And I would say I would want to have a conversation and narrow my resources down, just like I asked you to narrow your expertise. I want to narrow my resources down to those suppliers that I can use over and over and over again. I used to think when I first started out that I'm just going to spread the business around. I want to give everybody work. I want everyone to be happy. And it took me quite a few years to figure out that that really wasn't the best way to do it. If I can identify those resources who really have a style and a vibe and a price point that works for my ideal client and give them a lot of business, we're going to have a relationship really fast. Because the moment you place a $100,000 order with any of your suppliers, right, they're going to know who you are and they're going to welcome you back over and over again. So I think it's important to be aware that at this stage of the game, if you don't actually have an order to place, just be aware that they're at Market to take orders. That's why they're there. So you don't want to use up a lot of their time, but it can be worthwhile to at least just say, hi, I'm Nicole. I'd love to meet you. Can you hook me up with some catalogs or whatever it is else? And then as soon as possible, get them an order, and try to limit the number of resources you use. I can't emphasize that enough. I have a go-to person I use for area carpets. Now, obviously, you know, Michael delivered that artwork for me. If he doesn't have the area carpet I need, then I'm going to go somewhere else. But I'm going to, for the most part, give Michael as much business as I possibly can. I could never repay him for doing that great thing for me. And by the way, the client bought the painting I wanted her to buy, so it was totally worthwhile getting that done. Your resources, one of the things that we run into a lot from designers is, I don't want to buy the product because I don't want the responsibility. Okay, well, if you don't have the responsibility, you don't have control, you don't have money, and you also don't have a relationship with your resources who can help you if something goes wrong. So for example, if you're at market and you have a great relationship with, I won't use a name, I won't use a name. I won't color anybody's impression of anything. Well, let's say you have a great relationship with this lighting company, and you do quite a bit of purchasing with the lighting company, and you have a project and lights are delivered and something's wrong. Now you have this relationship with your supplier at that lighting company. They're going to get on it and help you. Where if you're working with a procurement company, for example, you don't have any relationship. Your relationship was with the procurement company, and you don't really know behind the scenes how that relationship is going from vendor to vendor. My other concern about that kind of thing is, you may have selected the such and such a light fixture from XYZ manufacturer, but the procurement company says, no, that wasn't available, so we're going to recommend this, and you go with it. I would double check that the first one wasn't available, because sometimes those decisions are made to go with another company because the discounts are deeper or the margins are deeper or whatever. Just be aware that there's a lot we give up when we don't want to take responsibility for procuring the things our clients are going to buy. So yeah, you're going to be held responsible, but it's my belief that you'll be responsible anyway. If you use a procurement company, you're going to be responsible if something goes wrong. It doesn't matter. There's no really absolving ourselves from responsibility and liability as a designer. Now, the liability really doesn't kick in until step 8 in a big way. That's when it really kicks in. And so for those of you who are like, I'm never doing project management, I understand the fear. On the other hand, my worst projects had been those projects where I didn't have control of the team. And my best projects are those projects where I can lead. I am the expert. I am the prize. I'm on a mission to help. And I can only do that if I lead, right? Those of you who have heard us talk about the Jedi mindset before. So good for you for being proactive. Absolutely. I'm going to just talk about surrounding yourself with like-minded tribesmen. I'm sorry, this photo is a little bit, it's a little bit pixelated. I have a group of designer friends I just love. We did a show house together, oh gosh, I don't know, like 128 years ago. I look pretty good for 128 years in the business. Anyway, we're very, very close, but they are, none of them is running a business using anything that we teach in Business of Design, which is hilarious because we get together for cocktails and the stories they tell are hilarious. A project craziness, a client upset, and clients aren't paying their bills, and like, it is hilarious, but it's not fun to live it, right? So that's great. If those were my only designer friends, I might think all of that was normal. It's not normal. Surround yourself with people who are really doing an excellent job and making those clients happy every single time, because you're going to learn things from those people. So I'll give you an example. For those of you who've heard me speak a lot, you maybe have heard this example before, but it's so good. So my tribe that's like crazy, my alcoholic tribe of designer friends, I love them, but that's not who I go to for business advice. Anyway, one of them had this client this is just a perfect example, and it's just so typical. He meets this client in an elevator of his condominium building, and they're like, oh, hey, hi, I live in the building. What do you do? I'm a designer. Oh, wow, I need help. Great. So he goes over to the guy's house, over to the guy's condo, and they talk about a few things, and he wants wallpaper, and he wants this, and he wants that. And this guy, the client, is a super busy, high-powered executive who's always traveling, always flying, probably not now, but back then. And my designer friend says, no problem, I can do all this for you, and blah, blah, blah. So he picks the wallpaper, shows the guy, he goes, yeah, awesome. And he's like, okay, it's going to be this much money. And the guy goes, no problem. I'll be in town in a couple weeks, and I'll hook you up with the cash. He installs the wallpaper, and you already know what happened, right? Guy's not paid for the wallpaper. He didn't pay for anything. He didn't pay for any design time. He didn't pay for the wallpaper. And we're like, I'm like, what's wrong with you? Why would you do that? Why would you install wallpaper without getting the guys, without getting a check, without getting a deposit? What's wrong with you? He's like, well, he's so nice. He's in my building, blah, blah, blah. He tries for months and months to collect, and the guy is just ghosting him. So he decides, this is the best part. Okay. He decides that this client, gets his shoes shined all the time. That's a service you can do in his condominium. So he puts his shoes out in front of his door on Thursdays. And my friend, the designer, steals one shoe, just one shoe. And that's all he does. And then a month later, he takes another shoe. Okay, he has like 5 shoes, and we are howling. This is hilarious. But it's not how you want to run a business. I would much rather have the money to buy shoes than steal the shoes. They actually, by the way, had to put up cameras at his condo to figure out who the shoe thief was. He never got caught. Anyway, surround yourself with like-minded people who are running mature businesses that rely on systems and strategies and that are making their clients happy every single time, that have a healthy profitability line, because as a business owner, you have an obligation to be profitable. It's not something you should do only if you're driven. Money is not my primary motivation, but the difference between having money and having no money is just a heck of a lot of fun. So I really encourage you to think about going the route of having a lot of money. Finally, don't kid yourself. It's always something. I know that COVID is now. Next year, it'll be something else. The year after, something else again. There's always going to be something, and there never is going to be the perfect time for you to make the changes that you know you should make. So what I'm saying to you now is don't wait for any of that. Just do the hard thing that you know you should do right now. And we would love to help you with that at Business of Design. The future is bright. I really think it is. It requires us to be hopeful, but it also requires us to take action, and continuing to do things exactly the way you're doing them, unless they're netting the exact results you want. Unless you have an 85% repeat and referral rate, unless you're bringing home a profit that is well over $100,000 a year, like that's the entry level. I meet so many designers who will say things like, well, I had this one year where I made 100,000. Okay, well, that's the entry level. You have an obligation to hit that threshold. It's not hard to hit that threshold. The only thing standing between you and that threshold, by the way, is you and whatever money mindset baggage you have and fear of being assertive. And believe me, I'm the worst. I had the most difficult challenges putting this all together, but $150,000 in coaching, I finally figured it out. Not all of it worthwhile, which is why I'm like, wait a minute, before you hire a coach, let's talk. If you really need a specific targeted coach for something, maybe we can lead you to the person who will help you the most. And that is it. And that is beautiful Cheryl at High Point Market, wearing her Business of Design shirt. Any questions? I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to stop the sharing and say hello again.
I don't have any questions waiting. Just scrolling through to make sure I didn't miss anything in the chat. Got designers joining us from all over the place.
Where from?
Texas, Arizona, Alberta, From California.
Texted us. I have a bestie in Dallas. I have a really close friend, and I would give anything to see her in Dallas. I see New York is here. That's great. This week on the podcast, the guest is from Brussels, from Belgium. And Cheryl and I remember she was the very first person from Europe to sign up for membership. And we're like, people in Europe have the same problems as people in Toronto and Los Angeles? That's crazy. And now it turns out that people all over the world have the same problems. Remember, was it 2 months ago, Cheryl, that we had the group coaching call and the designer from Nigeria was on the phone, and I'm all like, Claire, oh my God, tell me what it's like in Nigeria. Yeah. We had this fun moment where I was saying some kind of rule about when you're with clients, don't act all shocked and surprised when you walk into a multi-million-dollar house, and don't gush and gaw over everything. Act like you kind of, you've been there, you've seen it, even if you haven't. And this other designer from Nigeria said, yeah, like when you're at a client's house, don't ask the client where the bus stop is. Figure it out before you get to the client's house. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's cool. Like that's how they do it. That's how they roll in Nigeria. No matter where I go, I find I'm not alone.
No. Nicole's asking if we have an FAQ on our website for Business of Design. If you've got questions about Business of Design, emailing me is the FAQ. But if you're talking about, frequently asked questions about our content, that's part of the membership. So we have a forum associated with every single course, will be associated with every single program. So all of those questions that aren't answered within the course content have been asked over and over, and the answers are there. In all of the new programs that we're putting out in the fall, we've incorporated any question that Kimberly's answered more than 10 times is now part of the core content. So that is part of it. I hope that sort of answered that. If you've got questions, Cheryl@businessofdesign.com. Happy to answer anything else. Jennifer is saying, life is crazy with kids and homeschooling. I hear you. So I need to pivot to offer some packages with boundaries so I can manage my schedule. I literally have 25 blocks of time to work between each kid's break. So where can I find more info on packages?
We just did a webinar on packages, and I believe it's available at businessofdesign.com. And I had signed up for a $5,000 coaching thing to learn about how to do packages, which didn't help at all, really. It gave me one bit of information. So it took quite a few years to develop it, but I'd be more than happy to recommend that. I think it will help you with exactly what you're talking about. It's going to ask you to think about who your ideal client is, and to avoid trying to be a generalist, to really specialize and figure out like who is it that's going to buy this package, and then that one package has got to appeal to that person. And I appreciate how difficult it must be homeschooling right now. I cannot imagine how hard that would be. I know Cheryl's doing it. I also want to say about Business of Design membership. Business of Design is now an online learning platform for business training. So we provide the business training and business coaching you need. There's very few that are not taken care of by Business of Design. Marketing, social media would be two that come to mind. Those are so much less important than getting your systems and protocols and procedures figured out. Because once you have those figured out, your clients are going to become your brand ambassadors. Your clients are going to be the people who market for you, and you won't have to worry about it. I'm so grateful I don't have to do any marketing right now. I don't even know what I would do, but I'll tell you what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't bother with social media very much. If I did, I mean, you're really talking about a long haul game plan here, something years and years and years of commitment and effort. If I was going to do any marketing and I had some dollars to spend, I would find an amazing travel or wine magazine, and I would do my advertising there. Because I know my clients love to travel. They like exclusive travel experiences. I know they love, fine wine and good food. So I would do that versus an interior design magazine where it's just going to be filled with people who are competition to me. And that's not going to help me at all. If you love yoga and your clients are super earthy types, then you might advertise your design services in a yoga magazine or in a, Mom and Me magazine versus an interior design magazine. And that's another thing. The Business of Design community is really robust. You have to be a Business of Design member, a paid member, to be part of our Facebook community group. And you can ask questions of that group and get back really, really smart, strategic answers. We used to have a Facebook group that anybody could join, but the members complained that the answers they got from people who weren't members and who hadn't learned the systems and strategies were not helpful and were a distraction. So we had to make it more of an exclusive community. But this is a tribe that you can rely on to give you really smart advice. And I look to this community to give myself advice if I'm stuck from time to time, and they do, which is incredible.
Yeah. We do have a few more questions coming in. Sasha is asking, how do you project manage your clients through the 15 steps? Do you use a board like Trello or Asana? Which the answer is no, but how do you project manage your clients through the 15 steps?
We've tried them both, and we didn't find they added anything to the process we already had. We have now tried them both. We found them to be overcomplicated for what we need, and ours is pretty simple and straightforward. We follow the steps exactly as prescribed every single time, and it's just beautiful the way it works. I have a bunch of projects on the go right now, and everything is great. Everybody knows exactly where we're at. Clients know which step we're on. The people I have doing project management know for me what my expectations are and what the standards are. And it's all buttoned down pretty tight. Yeah. The thing is, there is no software that's going to improve your method of working. You still have to implement better procedures. Software can't fix that. It just can't, right?
Yeah.
Just can't.
Sorry, just going to push through a few more questions here. Linda saying, are you going to send info about joining after the webinar? For Business of Design, head to businessofdesign.com, check it out. And by all means, if you've got questions, email me directly, Cheryl, CHERYL at businessofdesign.com. I'm happy to answer any questions that the website doesn't for you, but our membership page, it's all there.
The other thing we should tell everybody, membership pricing is going up in the fall. Absolutely. There will be a kind of a 1 week window where we'll make the announcement that we're about to raise our rates, and you have 1 week to get in. At whatever rate you join at, up until this point, we have grandfathered those rates. So we actually have members who joined when we first launched for a ridiculous amount of money. It's still ridiculously low. Our mission at Business of Design is to transform the industry. It was never set up to be a profit generating business for me. I generate profits by doing interior design work for clients, which is extremely profitable. But anyway, now is a really good time between now and the fall. Listen for those announcements before that fee increase. Still going to be totally inexpensive compared to what you'll get, but
Michelle is asking about our operations manual, which will also be here in the fall. I just want to make sure that I'm also answering questions about design questions.
It almost killed me to write it, Michelle. It's done. It's done now. We're just launching it when we relaunch the site. It's ready to go.
Yeah. Allison is saying, I just started out as a solopreneur, finished up classes, and have my first client. I have decided to choose Instagram to show my work initially, both to trades and to start the process of launching my identity of my business plan. Would you suggest hiring someone to help me with this as a costly alternative, or take a course geared to giving me some advice on how to do it myself? Bottom line is real at this point. I'm not sure I understand that point, but if she wants to share her portfolio and that sort of thing on Instagram, I guess initially, instead of having a full-blown website. So any advice on whether or not that's something she should outsource or do herself?
I wish I could recommend a company. I wish I had a company and say, oh, you just go straight to them. They're going to be awesome. Here's what I can recommend that's free. Go back to Business of Design podcasts and find the ones that we've talked about Instagram and do what's required. It's very simple. Create a schedule for yourself. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, you're going to do posts. On Monday, you're going to post behind the scenes of a project. It's you on a job site. And I know you don't have a lot to work with, but you'll figure it out. On Wednesday, you're going to post a travel photo because your clients are people who love exclusive travel experiences. And so that's going to be your Wednesday post. And on Thursday, you're going to post a picture of a beautiful room that you've completed. And on Saturday, something else. It's really, it's as simple as that. You absolutely can outsource it. I have not heard from, and we have thousands of people who get in touch with us at Business of Design. We don't have a go-to resource for something like that, but ask other designers. Ask other designers if they have found value in those services. And if you find a service that's great, please tell us. We would promote them and share that with everybody.
And last questions about Business of Design again. You mentioned you have a system for project management. Is it one of your courses specifically, or is it integrated throughout the courses?
No, there's a lot of courses related to project management. Essentially, the BOD 15, which is Business of Design's Project Management Strategy, is our main program. It's a program that every single person takes. And beginning in the fall, it'll actually have a professional certification that goes along with it, which we're really excited about. But in addition to that, there's all kinds of programs on your pricing models and what to charge and how to invoice and how to collect and building your A team and client management. Like, there's just a lot of material, hundreds and hundreds of videos for you. And we pretty much we can answer your question, you know, unless it's about marketing or social media, that's not our wheelhouse. But if it's about how to run your business and there's business training, that's what we provide, and it's all there. And your project management solution, by the way, is not going to be like, oh, I'm just going to, you know, print this off. It's going to be a really integrated step-by-step process to get it right. Because at the point you have trades in your client's house, that is not the moment where you figure out what's missing. You should be, by the time we get to step 8, I am so sure and so confident this is going to go smoothly. All we're doing is we're just watching the ball. We're watching the ball in play. That's all we're doing. We're not making hard decisions. We're not flip-flopping. There's no change orders. It's all done. And somebody just has to follow the bouncing ball at that point. And that's the position you want to be in, where all the hard work is done.
Yeah. And to summarize the 15 steps, it's broken into 3 phases. Steps 6 to 15 is project management. So it's a large chunk of the process, just to put that into perspective. But I think I've gotten to all the questions. I don't think I missed anything, but reach out to us.
I really apologize. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you so much, Cheryl, by the way. And thank you to Kimberly and to Sarah from IMC. I hope I'll see you all at Market. Business of Design is partnering again with Las Vegas Market and High Point Market to do all kinds of great programming. So we hope to be back at a conference as soon as possible. And please reach out to us at Business of Design. And we would love to get to know you in real life one day soon. But for now, virtual will have to do. And thank you for your time, everybody. Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks, everybody.